Hey guys, Anorganic Pixel here. Doing another Deadlock video. I'm playing Infernus today. I haven't really made one of these in a hot minute, mainly just because I've been kind of busy, and also because really we're going to talk a lot about today how there's not been a big update with Deadlock. There has not been anything major in terms of the actual game itself, but that's totally cool with me. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about essentially what I predict might be coming down the road with Deadlock. Talk a little bit about this most recent update, where Deadlock's kind of at right now as well a little bit, and also this gameplay. One thing you'll notice within this gameplay is that I'm kind of kick ass as Infernus. Don't be too impressed. There is essentially a lot of like each individual hero or character you have does have its own specific rank, and for whatever reason, Infernus and I, way early on when this game was getting started, whenever I had to get him, I'd always like just lose. I would always get my ass kicked. I think I kind of figured a bit more about how to play Infernus in terms of the positioning and also his kind of overall abilities and whatnot. I just haven't played him a whole lot, so this is kind of a lower ranked game for me specifically. I'm trying to like get into more newer characters or characters that I wasn't good at previously. But let's just kind of dive a little bit deeper more into like Deadlock and kind of this most recent update that happened. Well, not even recent really. This update came out like back in the item shop rework essentially was about a few months ago, and the idea and expectation was that I think I even mentioned this in my previous videos that I anticipated or predicted that the next update would come around July. It doesn't seem that might be the case anymore, and frankly, we're not 100% sure when this newest update will come. Speculation and rumors are pointing to August potentially. However, Yoshi and the team at Valve supposedly are all hands on deck with Deadlock right now, and they have the whole team working for a lot of different aspects of the game. Potentially some nerfs coming down the pipeline, a little bit more of the map reworks. There's also been some new hires in terms of the types of developers that are being added to the team as well. Things like more of a focus on animation, more of a focus on potentially design of the actual overall layout of the map itself, and here and there some like balance tweaking and adjustments to some of the certain characters. Supposedly with this new update that may or may not come out in the near future. When I say near future, I mean at least Q3 of this year. We can definitely expect a nerf to Shiv. Shiv, this most recent few patches, has been very brutally difficult to deal with. We could also anticipate some animation stuff that comes down the pipeline. Here's just a little clip of essentially kind of a meet the McGinnis situation with this one piece of animation. Don't get too excited about this animation you're seeing, though. I think this more likely is just kind of like test animation from the animator who kind of is joining the teams and everything with Deadlock. This Bebop with a really great hook here. By the way, this section leads into me bombing my 7, and I'm going to get a little off track here because a really cool fight's about to happen right here in just a second. We're kind of at a standstill, it seems, at this match at this point right now, and both my 7 and I are very low on health. 7 kind of gets a little aggressive though and goes to the stun. I'm going to pan to a different view here, and unfortunately my 7 gets absolutely demolished by a Bebop there. Thankfully though, I'm able to come in here, swoop in. Thank God this parry goes off, and I've gotten a lot better at the whole parry melee system within Deadlock. There's definitely been a period of time when I was like really getting my ass kicked too much with the parrying, and I think that kind of will segue a bit into later in this discussion as to my kind of overall opinions of how people play this game and everything. But I guess what we can anticipate with this newest update that may or may not come out fairly soon is that it's going to be a lot of the reworking certain animation aspects of the characters, potentially even like the overall design and flow of the map a bit here and there. So essentially, there's also going to be some newer characters added to the map or added to the game itself. So those might be some of the characters that are in the Hero Test Lab right now. Also, rumor has it that eventually Deadlock will be joining like more of an open beta, for instead of an invite only, and that's kind of interesting because I guess again it always just comes back to as like kind of the decision making process that Valve has with this game, and part of me wonders if they are kind of holding off on this newest update for maybe more testing for what's currently in place right now with overall how the characters are interacting with certain items, the overall builds and loadouts that exist, also certain balancing aspects of even the map and characters. But if it were to move to more of an open beta, I imagine the testing at that point is going to be more around understanding how newer players are tackling this game, understanding how like a larger pool of players will be kind of interacting and understanding and learning the overall ebbs and flows of Deadlock and even maximizing their character. I'm not too upset that this newest update hasn't come out just yet, if I'm being honest. I have been putting a lot of time into the Deadlock, and the game as of right now is at a very, really refined state, more so than it's ever been. Deadlock's always been a lot of fun to play, but the balancing here and there has been kind of all over the place, and that's definitely possible with this update. And I think a large aspect of to why the balancing is so weird is mainly because the matchmaking system is, kind of in a weird state where it's essentially accounting for the players that are being paired, the characters that those players are picking, even the overall loadouts and builds that players are running, and potentially how those counter one another. I think what's been interesting about this most recent update is that there's been a lot of talk or a lot of push for a draft system within Deadlock. And if I'm being transparent, I don't know if Valve really wants that direction for this game specifically. I really imagine that Valve, within the next update, is going to be more focused on solidifying the balancing aspect, the balancing of Deadlock. And I think what that's going to maybe boil down to is pushing players to stick with certain builds that are more healing focused or more focused on support. So, for example, there are a lot of instances and cases where there are certain characters and heroes like Aviscus or like Dynamo, Kelvin, but even Calico, for example. I mean, there are a lot of instances where those characters can actually become more of a support kind of role. And, there have been kind of use cases of, people running a support Haze build, a support Bebop build and whatnot. And I think overall what's going to end up happening with the balancing of this game is that the players as well as Valve are going to have to come to a decision essentially in terms of, do we have a draft system in place, or do we have a system in place where we're essentially trying to incentivize or push players to playing a specific role or a specific type of role with the character that they enjoy. I mean, I know that the draft system has been one topic that's come up a lot throughout this update, mainly because I think for a few reasons. Number one, during this update, a lot of newer players have picked up this game, surprisingly, and I think that's mainly because of a lot of the people on the internet or on YouTube who are waxing poetic about Deadlock as a whole. I mean, it seems every time I log on to YouTube now, there's a new video talking about how great Deadlock is and how kind of refreshing and interesting the actual game itself is in terms of what it means for the MOBA genre. But at the same time, once one comment or criticism that comes up constantly within these videos or within with the new player experience is that essentially you're kind of diving straight into the deep end with Deadlock as of right now. And I imagine that the newest update will somewhat attempt to address this. I can't imagine the update's only focused on balancing and also reworking or design. But I also hope that Valve is potentially going to try to maybe test out aspects of this game that are more aligned with getting newer people involved or helping people understand where it is that they're going wrong within certain matches or where they're going wrong within certain situations and scenarios of the game itself. I think a big part of Deadlock, it seems that every week or every other match or so, players are discovering newer and more exciting ways to play their favorite character, or more ways to understand parts of the map and the ebbs and flow of the actual match itself. I mean, within this update recently, within this this update over the past few weeks, it seems that the OP characters have been switching constantly from Infernus to McGinnis to Shiv. Abrams has had its time in the moment as well. I think a big part of I felt bad for that 7. I was really trying to heal him there, but he just got wrecked by that Bebop. I think a big part, though, of Deadlock's kind of crux, or kind of the big hill that Valve is going to have to figure out how to address when this game fully goes to a larger mass audience, is how to effectively get players to understand and enjoy Deadlock to its fullest potential with the balancing aspect of it, with understanding the characters, and because that's going to be, I think, the big, and a lot of people have brought that up as well. That's going to be the biggest barrier to entry with enjoying Deadlock as a whole. And I really hope that the newest update addresses and adds a lot more sheen and polish to this game. But I also hope that we get more of a glimpse in terms of how Valve is planning to ultimately roll out this game. Obviously, with every update, a lot of people will always comment the same few things. And it seems that Valve is always trying to, with every update, streamline the game to make it more accessible to a wider and wider audience. I cannot imagine it's going to be any different come this next update. However, it definitely seems, though, that with some of these other smaller micro updates, like the ones from my previous videos I mentioned, where they got rid of the souls spawning out of the enemy players. This was a really weird Bebop hook, by the way. I don't really know what the plan was there. Bebop kind of just killed his teammate. I mean, he got 7 too, but at the same time, he killed his warden by accident with that hook. I do recall I'm actually asking McGinnis to back way the hell up here. Unfortunately, McGinnis just decides to go a little bit too deep there, and I really wanted to help, but at the same time, pretty funny that I'm just sitting back and watching and not doing anything at all. There wasn't much I could do. I could have ran in there with my ult and, I guess stunned them, but more often than not, you're in a better situation if you just let your teammates, go kamikaze, and then that way you're not feeding one after another. Going back to what I was saying, though, this whole streamlining aspect of Deadlock is, something that obviously is going to be really necessary to get newer people involved. However, I do worry more and more every time when they have a new streamlined aspect of Deadlock that it might take away from the identity or the personality, and even potentially, some of that stuff that makes this game a hardcore competitive environment, or more of a, I don't want to say competitive, but more of a, the design philosophy is really rewarding for people who are very skilled and adept to, the movement aspect, the mechanics of each character and hero, learning new abilities and learning new ways to kind of counter specific opponents and whatnot in specific situations. Like in this one, for example, here, I mean, that is definitely not a newbie move right there. That parry was just really just well timed, really well executed, and those are the types of moments that I love. And every time when there's a new update, there are parts of this game that get streamlined more and more, and there is a give and take to that. There is a small part of me that doesn't want them to streamline it way too much to the point where Valve or where Deadlock loses a good portion of its identity and a good portion of its kind of nature. It's hard to explain, I guess. I obviously want as many people as possible to be playing this game and enjoying it, but at the same time, as it stands right now, where we're standing right now, where we're looking at, we don't really know what's going to happen with this game, what's going to happen with the overall history of Deadlock. As time goes on, who knows? This really could become the next big competitive MOBA, set the standard, or it could just be so out on its own left field, so densely hard to get into that it only amasses like a fairly small but very loyal audience. As of right now, that's where that currently stands, and I think it's kind of a bit of an ingenious part to Valve's testing mentality or testing philosophy here, is that I think by making this a closed, friends-only type of beta or type of enrollment situation for playing this game, Valve has ostensibly made a testing environment where they are only getting the best of the best players, only like the people who are truly die-hard about this game, and they're kind of pulling the data and information from that. That's great when it comes to overall balancing in the long term, but I do wonder if, with enough time, if that's going to really pan out the best for getting newer players involved, getting newer kind of types of gamers involved with the type of game that we're seeing here today. That guy's bounced off really hard there. That was such a crazy chase. Honestly, I really feel like I'm going to try to follow it up here with this like burn run, but unfortunately, I really wanted to get in there and save my haze. She just got a little too aggro, I think. So I don't know. It's every time I make one of these videos, it's always like I'm trying to predict the future, or I'm trying to predict essentially what may or may not come from Valve with Deadlock specifically. I feel like I've been right here and there with some of these update news things, or even balancing aspects to the game itself. But at the same time, I don't really know what direction I would want to take if I was in Valve's position right now, in terms of what I would want the future of this game to look like. This newest update, or even when this game comes out to the larger public, Valve's going to have to make a lot of decisions that may ultimately affect my enjoyment of this game or other people's enjoyment of this game. But that's kind of the fun of it, though, too. In a bizarre way, I want to experience that kind of growth that's happening with Deadlock. It's been so exciting to see every time I hop into this game, something totally new and different and unique is happening. And it's just a really cool new way to express myself in terms of the actual play style that I want to do, or the enjoyment that I get out of this game, and also uncovering like newer, exciting things that make this game kind of special, at least to myself or other players as well. I enjoy that competitive aspect, but at the same time, I also want to make sure that I really hope that the Valve's also focusing on making the game overall fun and not just solely focused on winning and losing and a competitive esport KD ratio, Monster Energy sponsored kind of situation. And yeah, it's just a big wait and see moment. I don't really understand what a lot of the players truly want either, because I feel like the draft system, going back to that specifically, that would really ruin for me a portion of this game that I really enjoy, where it's really more about understanding your specific character or understanding like your specific role with the build that you have. But if there is a need, if we want to remove the draft system, there might be a need though where you're almost forcing players to like, listen, hey, no one else in your team right now is a support character. You guys are down like 20k souls. Someone needs to snap to go into a support character or pick an item that they don't really want to have in their inventory or their pool. And that's really the only way you'll come back from winning the game right now. And that, I don't know, that kind of bums me out a little bit. I mean, it's kind of nice to hop into a game and just stick to what you wanted to play as with the character that you're playing. So the draft system may or may not address that. I'm hoping that there might be some other system that Valve has in their back pocket that could address that as well. But who knows? I mean, honestly, maybe a draft system isn't the worst thing in the whole world, too, because, I mean, if you want to get better at this game, one thing I will say is that oftentimes just picking a build for a character that is more team-focused or team-orientated is so crucial. And it's also kind of hard to understand, too, because, I mean, what we're testing on, it seems, at least with some of the games I've played, is that we're basically, the people who complain the loudest can often tend to be the people who are not coordinating correctly as a team, or not wanting to play with a team, or basically the most vocal and the most upset part of the audience can sometimes be the people who potentially are just not working together as a team, or not working in an environment that is conducive to winning ultimately at the same time. I think the player is a big X factor in terms of how Valve needs to choose balancing, and sometimes that player, unfortunately, can be very rude, can be very hard to deal with, can also be very argumentative, or stuck in their own ways, or critical, and not really conducive to maybe examining inward in terms of their own performance and whatnot. I think we. If none of this is making sense, if you've ever been in a game where a teammate is just absolutely crashing out and then ultimately blaming everyone else around them for sometimes their own mistakes, that's a big aspect that I feel like I've uncovered with this most recent update. It seems that as the game's solidified more and more, sometimes gamers can tend to be more solidified in their own beliefs and their kind of their own opinions in terms of why a match might not be going the way they want, or why the game isn't balanced correctly to their standard or their liking, and it's a really hard to uncover and hard to really truly understand kind of equation. And thankfully Valve though is the company that's kind of leading this project, because I mean I could not imagine a better company suited for this kind of testing, this level of rigorous understanding the actual core mechanics of the game itself, or the core mechanics of the design philosophy for a MOBA. I mean, clearly these guys are all experts, but one thing that could be said about Deadlock that I don't think anyone could really argue is that this is truly a project that is quite a big undertaking. I mean, the amount of detail and the amount of mechanical aspects of Deadlock that make it Deadlock to consider is, I imagine, very daunting, especially for any kind of a team. So it's just really impressive overall what Valve's been able to uncover and what Valve's been able to do so far. I still enjoy playing this game. Even if I'm losing, it's really enjoyable. Even if I'm winning, it's also really enjoyable. I enjoy playing newer characters. I also enjoy trying to work as a team and trying to uncover, maybe better solutions or combinations that can help us get to a victory, or, the position or the next steps we need to do as a team to get to that stage in the game. But at the same time, for the best Deadlock experience, you need to have a team that is willing to work together, and sometimes that could be very challenging, especially when it comes to dealing with gamers or even just MOBA gamers. This is one of the first MOBA games, if I'm being totally honest with you, that I've really sunk my teeth into. I've played a lot of Heroes of the Storm. I've tried League of Legends and stuff, but I've never really sunk too much of my time into any of those games. And a big part of that is mainly because of the 3D shooter part of Deadlock that I've really enjoyed a lot. And I've heard a lot of criticisms of MOBA players and MOBA gamers and whatnot. It doesn't seem that it doesn't seem that Deadlock is going to be able to escape that either. Unfortunately, Deadlock seems to be in a state where it's basically attracting the MOBA audience as well as the hero shooter audience, and sometimes those audiences could just be very toxic and very combative and very hard to deal with, and also very stuck in their own ways. So it's just going to be an interesting balancing act. I mean, I'm excited to see what ultimately ends up happening here, and I also wonder, how dedicated Valve is to the idea of keeping this game truly a competitive scene. We don't really know yet. And I've said this, I feel like a broken record, as I've said this in every other Deadlock video I've ever made. But we have no idea what stage we're at in terms of this game being finalized and finished. We have no idea how many more updates this game might need. We have no idea when this game will truly be public and out. I was watching a video the other day that jokingly was like, oh yeah, it'll probably come out Q3 of 2027. And honestly, who knows? That's the thing. Who truly knows if that's either a ridiculous guess or pretty accurate and on the nose. I mean, I think overall one thing that's absolutely true about Deadlock right now on this day of July 2025 is that I think Valve, with that item shop rework and everything, I think they've fixed the issue where essentially you could ultimately steamroll, or you feel constricted to playing a specific character a specific way all the time. The item shop rework update, in my opinion, allowed players to make a support Kako build, make a build that is conducive of punching Vindicta and everything. Whether or not that truly works for your team is ultimately up to the player, but when this game, ultimately does come out, though, is that truly going to be the best experience? I think that's the next challenge that Deadlock is going to be trying to tackle, or Valve is trying to be tackling with that newest update, is trying to make it so that when a new player comes in, they are getting the best possible Deadlock experience and not just getting called a bunch of slurs and yelled at because they're not understanding, what they should and shouldn't be doing at a certain time. But who knows? I mean, the next update, it's either going to be that, or it's going to be largely focused on kind of doing a big polish of this game animation-wise and artistically. Those are my two guesses in terms of what I think the overall update's going to be. I mean, if you really think about it, there's so much of this game that is still not ironed out, like Sinclair, for example. I mean, that dude is still just a default model. I mean, Infernus himself, for the most part, is fairly default as well, and it's going to be interesting to see if we could really truly expect a lot of these final character designs to come out maybe in this next update. So those are kind of my predictions, I guess, in terms of, and also thoughts on when this next update might come out, and also what this next update might truly be about. It's either going to be a lot of art stuff, it's either going to be a lot of stuff around the design and the overall look and feel of the game itself, animations, potentially character facial animations around character movement and everything, or it's going to be more and more focused on making it so that the game is more streamlined to newer players and making some kind of, not I want to say draft class system, but some kind of a system that really pushes and enables players to stick to a more support role, or a role that's more geared towards tanking, or I don't know. I truly don't know. And that kind of boils down to where we're at again with this game itself. I apologize if I'm kind of rambling a whole lot during this video and everything. I also apologize if I haven't made a Deadlock video in a long time. I've been really focused on enjoying my summer vacation and work and everything. But just to let you know, I have been playing a fuck ton of this game. I have been streaming this here and there, and I've also been playing a lot of Team Fortress 2. I guess just to kind of step away from just Deadlock as a whole, I think what's the best part about right now what we're seeing with the footage right now, and also even kind of just segueing a little bit into Team Fortress 2, just talking about Valve as a whole, I think the company right now is in the best spot it's ever been in a long time. It's really refreshing to see that we are getting some of the best people in the industry working on some of the best stuff in gaming right now. And it's really exciting just to come out and see what happens next. I think whenever a new update or a change happens within Deadlock, we're seeing more and more people get on board and joining into the fray of enjoying Deadlock here and there. It's been really impressive to see that the Deadlock player base has stayed at a constant 10,000 people. Consistently playing this game on an average, time. Again, this is a closed, friends-only beta or alpha, whatever you want to call it. And there's people that are still dedicated to playing the actual core system of the game itself. That's really impressive. There's not a lot of games that can really flex that kind of staying power. I mean, could you imagine if you told players tomorrow the new Call of Duty was coming out, but there's no skins, there's no progression system, you're just there to enjoy the game? I don't think that would hold up for very long, and I'm part of that. I'm part of essentially that wave of Deadlock players that have been here since kind of day one, at least since the friend beta thing was ultimately open to the whole public. This is a really risky play, by the way. Me going here and then popping the flame run immediately. That's always a risky move. If you're ever going to do that when you're teleporting from one side of the map to the other side of the map that has a walker, really be cautious about making sure you have. You really want to exercise the fullest extent of your toolkit to get out of that situation, because that walker is immediately going to slam down. I'm just using these teleporters so ridiculously well there. That Geist just got slammed by my ult right there. I think she gets away, surprisingly. But this Viscous, man, just great slide, great plays. This was actually one of the few times where I played super well, and I was like, God, I have to make this the video, right? This has to be the footage I got to use here. I have talked a lot about also trying to get footage of games that aren't that good. I just picked up Viscous last night, and I recorded like my first game as Viscous in a long time. Frankly, the first time I played Viscous was back when this game was 4-lane. And playing Viscous now, it's been a lot of fun, but wow, that is a character that's so hard to figure out. And I just died there pretty hard. But going ahead and just cutting to the next part of this game here, we're kind of dominating in terms of the map control here also in this game. And I feel like, I'm playing Infernus, I get it. I'm playing a character who's very vicious, essentially, and I'm almost acting in a way where I am kind of just being the back defense side of my team right now. My team's getting very aggressive, I find, throughout the rest of this match, mainly because we're kicking ass so hard, and I've done a really good job of staying alive here and there, but now I feel as if, though, my role has shifted a bit to making sure my teammates all stay alive and acting as kind of like some back-end support for my teammates here. This 7 pops is all here. This Lash. What am I doing here? Wow, Viscous with the cube. Nope. What else to talk about? Going back to, I guess I got a little segue there. Sorry, but I have been playing a little bit of Team Fortress 2. The newest update for that is coming out the summer, the offshore update, I guess if you want to call it. They're really just referring to it as the summer update. That's been kind of interesting as well. Might make a video on that in the near future. As far as Deadlock goes, I mean, one thing that's been interesting to see too, and I wonder, just hypothesize a bit about how Valve is taking to a lot of this specific topic right now, is the community modding for some of the characters or some of the aspects of this game as well has been interesting to see. First off, I'm just wholly impressed that there are already so many great, well-fleshed mods that really stay true to the character and the style and design philosophy of Deadlock. Personally, I don't want to get any of those mods because I like the way and the look and feel of the game as a base as a whole. But I imagine Valve is definitely taking notes in terms of what they're seeing, and who knows, that could potentially be part of the overall design philosophy or overall like look and feel of this game in the near future. I mean, some of these mods have been like really cool to see, and I also just wonder if Valve is potentially looking at those and thinking, yeah, that should be something we bring into the game. That should be something like the skybox, the look and feel of this skybox for this mod, or the look and feel of this character. Do players like this mod because it does XYZ for this view model of this character, for example? I mean, again, it all just comes back to really wanting to understand the design core philosophy and the overall development of Deadlock. When the developer commentary comes out, that is going to be so intriguing and so off the wall, exciting to figure out how and why certain decisions were made, and like, you know, figuring out how they came to those conclusions as well. Because as of right now, you know, we're just I feel like I make these videos and I talk through a lot of what we're seeing in terms of talk a lot about the future and overall stance of Deadlock right now and the state of it, and we're kind of just flying in a state where, you know, we're still figuring out what Deadlock is as a whole. We're still figuring out what ultimately makes this game what it is, and why it's so exciting to figure out, and why it's so exciting to also piece together bit by bit, game by game. This was a crazy ult, by the way. My game, actually, I was really worried that the footage was going to get all screwed up, because my game lagged really hard there, but looking at it now, it looks like I came through. I got torched up really hard, though, so one piece of advice to any player who's watching this right now who might be new: in this situation, there's no shame in basically taking the very safe option. I'm like 300 HP. There's really no need for me to get right back into that fight just yet. I'd rather sit back and maybe just heal up with killing some of these minions and also pushing up lane here. I think that a lot of the matches that I come across, it seems that I'm being paired with players who are always on a aggressive attack kind of mentality when playing this game. And I think the big part that Valve needs to figure out is how to teach players when to play aggressively and when to play defensively. What kind of mechanics or what kind of like tool set or philosophy for game design could they implement that really encourages players to kind of piece those parts of the puzzle together during the match? Because I get it. It's very hard to play defensively when, you know, you have a great ult like that just happens as Infernus, and you really want to get back in there and get more kills, more damage on your enemies. But, you know, it's I feel like I've pulled it off really well because I've been playing this game for so long and I know the overall pacing and everything. But I feel like a new player has a very hard time uncovering that because, and a big part of that, in my opinion, is because of this like third-person perspective that you're seeing here. This third-person perspective and also the movement of this game really just incentivizes you to keep pushing further and further in an aggressive manner, I find. In my opinion, the gamer mind is just like, I have to go shoot more things. I have to get in there deeper and get more kills and stuff. And more often than not, I find personally that when I play to keep myself alive longer is when I get the more enjoyment or the more mileage out of my, you know, my character's abilities and also my character's lifespan and whatnot. Clearly, we're winning this game, though. I think a lot of that also has to do with my teammates kind of figuring that out as well. So, you know, just it always just comes back to how do you teach these players to understand the MOBA mechanic of this game, but also really get the full mileage and also not feeling restricted in regards to that MOBA mechanic as well. Because, you know, with other MOBAs is like, you know, you have the ability to like always just teleport back to the base, or, you know, getting back and falling back is just a click away. But with this one, there's really a lot more nuance to it. There's a lot of you know, movement tech involved. There's a lot of tech involved with your hero loadout, your kit, positioning on the map, lanes, and also, you know, hiding, melee, etc., etc. So again, I've always brought this up, but, you know, getting the newer players involved in that is just going to be, it's just an interesting challenge. I'm just curious to see how Valve tackles it step by step. All right, I feel like I've talked enough about what I think about the current state of, you know, the player mentality and also the overall update itself with Deadlock. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the YouTube channel here and everything. For starters, first off, I want to say thanks to everyone who's ever subscribed and watched these videos and left a comment about Deadlock. Here's me using Counterspell for the first time ever. And I got away from that Warden, but I got kind of like put into a blender there. That was a really sticky situation. Normally I would just edit out this part where I'm dead, but I really wanted to showcase how crazy this fight got. The urns being turned in here, our teammates are all just popping off and whatnot. I'm going to swap over to see what the 7's doing. This was just really great positioning for my teammates as a whole. Unfortunately, I wasn't part of this, but I think I got the ball started in terms of getting in that part of the map and everything. The other team's just kind of scared to deal with us at the moment, so we are just going to kind of sit back and watch a little bit of these next steps from our teammates here. One thing, the next video idea that I have for Deadlock that I really want to do, but I'm kind of at a state where I don't know if I want to do it just yet because I'm waiting for that big update to come down. And I'm also kind of waiting in general to, get a better idea and sense of what the final version of Deadlock looks like. There's so many videos and ideas for Deadlock that I really want to do, but part of me is a bit nervous in terms of doing them because I don't know if I want to comment on something that's not done yet. As I'm essentially watching a painter make a piece of artwork here, and for me to criticize or chastise it or even bring up my own recommendations at times feels a little preemptive, and I also kind of get a little nervous in terms of because my worry is that I'm going to make a video where I talk about a specific mechanic or a specific aspect of Deadlock, and then a week later they totally change it or totally remove it to where that video becomes null and void. So one video that I had in mind was things I'd like to see added to Deadlock, or the mechanics and feature sets that I'd like to see added to Deadlock. At the same time, though, as I'm saying all this, it is also interesting to have that kind of preserved. What's really cool about these Deadlock videos that I make, or Deadlock videos that are coming out right now by anybody really, is that you're kind of getting the thoughts and opinions on a Valve game before it's fully realized and actualized. And that's such a rare thing. That's such a rare and interesting occurrence with Deadlock as a whole as well. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. My worry is that I make these videos and they're just too preemptive. They're just too, what's the word I'm looking for? Too critical on something that ultimately might be changed fairly quickly or very, very recently. It's really hard to say. Maybe that's just me thing. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what your opinions are on that at least. This match has been going on for a hot minute here, and we're definitely slowly wrapping it up very soon here. I think our team is kind of looking to get the rejuve going first before we make another move. Frankly, we are kind of in a position where I think if we all respawned right now, we could go ahead and just end the game. But they are going for rejuve right now, so we're kind of in a weird predicament here. I do have Infernus ult, and we do also have Lash ult. I could have gone for a steal here, but we are down 3 players.
They're ulting down there with no one there.
I hear my teammates also kind of agreeing with that. We're in a good spot, though, to play defensively here. And this is a part of the game that I think that newer players have a hard time actualizing, is the defensive aspect of Deadlock. That is one video that, going back to my topic about videos I want to make, but I'm not really sure if I should, is playing defensively in Deadlock, and understanding how to play defensively and your best positioning for defense. Because I think a lot of players need either some kind of another level of warning or insight in terms of whether or not it's worth defending and saving this walker, or is it worth defending and fighting for this urn. I find that can be a challenge for a lot of new players, or even older players as well, especially when your teammates are not all in agreement on what the objective or what the next best step might be. Here, though, in this case, I think our team does a really great job of, first off, the other team has the rejuve, so we got to play a little bit defensively here. We are getting the urn. I'm sorry, not the urn. We got the bridge buffs there, which is really smart. But see, we're not going into a fight immediately. See, we're not just going right hard in smack dab into getting that fight right now. We're kind of playing in a mode where we want to be able to back up and just get our lanes kind of adjusted and fixed here. It's an interesting position because we have the souls advantage. We also have the advantage in terms of a lot of the I think lane and the overall state of the map control itself. So thankfully this is a game where we're seeing a lot of these, I think, already people who've played this game and understand the overall ebb and flow of Deadlock here. And it's really cool when the whole thing comes together for your whole team as a whole, and you really get a great sense of, you know, working together as a team and working together to accomplish like a certain directive and objective. And yeah, I feel kind of bad though, because like this footage unfortunately gets a little ruined by this one talent here who absolutely shreds me. Reverb comes in hard there. I wanted to get the talent's perspective on this, by the way. I thought that would be interesting to see. So here Talon comes through. My McGinnis is with me. I really thought that, oh, well, no big deal. It's just Talon. Like, we can probably get out of this easy. This Talon just absolutely wails on me. I have to give credit to this Talon here. And, God, he really just, that reverb came through hard. The rest of this footage actually is just kind of me spawning or, you know, spectating my teammates here for the rest of the match. The rejuve is still up. We are in a position, though, where I'm down. We're down one teammate, and my team is definitely looking for an in to either get the urn done or kind of get another fight going. We in a weird way, we want to start a fight. Even though they have rejuve, we really want to get a fight going. And the best way to do that, obviously, with the urn here. Really cinematic viewing here. This is very Scorsese-esque. I'm going to go ahead and spawn over to the Abrams here. I think what's interesting is that my teammates all kind of come together and coagulate on this rejuve drop point. But I think that's just kind of bait, and that holiday's behind us there. Wow, great slam. We did get the urn, believe it or not. So that ultimately that turned from a bait to an actual objective capture. This 7 alt right now is in the best possible position. He has full reign over the whole view of the map itself. Got the Bebop and Holiday. Frankly, even if they do have rejuve here, I don't know. We're basically staggering them to a point where they're kind of screwed, regardless of if they have rejuve or not. So I feel like if I was on the other team right now, my objective would have just been to grab urn and try to run urn before the opposing team did. I think they got a little excited though, because they got the kill on me first, and in a weird way, me dying off and me kind of sacrificing myself for the greater good of the match led to this steamroll that happened next. So if you think about it, I was actually the real MVP of the match. This Abrams getting way too aggressive on this Geist right now. I mean, I know Geist is also 1 HP, but jeez, this was a great. I was so happy I panned over to this fight here. This Haze barely gets away by the skin of her teeth. Warden's ult has become one of those things that is just so devastating now as of late. And right here you think, wow, Haze is good. Boom, bird. Huge bag drop, by the way. It doesn't really matter, though. The game is kind of wrapping up here. That Haze did die. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. Everyone on the other team seems to have died without rejuve. So the match overall is just done. Here's my perspective. I just spawned back in. I want to get back into the fight, but at first I'm just going to try to defend my base, but it doesn't really seem to be necessary. We actually just go ahead and take the win no matter what. That's really all I have for the video today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Let me know what you guys think about the next Deadlock update, and also what you guys think about Deadlock videos like this. I like this kind of casual stuff. It's a lot of fun to make, and these are also really easy to pump out. But let me know what you guys want to see in the future. Thanks so much. Bye.